Hi everyone, good morning.
Hi,
I
sir. Good
hope you are
morning.
able to hear me. Very good morning. So in the last session, we have seen how we can install SQL Server, and I hope everyone install. If it is not installed, you just go through the yesterday session and install, make it ready for practicing because SQL Server is very important for data analyst. Okay, so now as a Power BI developer, we're also going to take the data from the SQL Server or any database. If I have a data in the database, how we are going to take the data? I have a data in the database. The database may be anything. The database may be a SQL Server, or the database may be Oracle, anything it is. So as we are going to discuss about SQL Server, we need to know how we can connect to the SQL Server. We need to know what tables are available. Or before bringing that into the Power BI, we should be aware of our tables, we should be aware of our data in the database. So in order to communicate that, in order to communicate with the SQL Server database, we are going to use a tool called SQL Server Management Studio. SQL Server Management Studio. We are going to use this. So before using any query, before bringing that query into Power BI, we need to check with SQL Server Management Studio. So this is a development tool which will be used to talk with the SQL Server. So in order to talk with the SQL Server, we required credentials. So credentials here is like server name, database name, and username and password. All this comes under the credentials. So I'm going to show you how we can connect with the SQL Server as we have installed yesterday. I'm going to use that. And we installed server and we installed SQL Server Management Studio also in the last session. Close this and reopen again. Now go to this search. In the search for SQL Server Management Studio, and you can see there is a app. SQL Server Management Studio. Just open it. So what it is asking is we are connecting to the database engine because we wanted to talk to the database. So we need to take a server type as a database engine, and then it is going to ask you to provide the server name. So server name, you can get it from the business. What is the name of the server? In my case, my system name is the server name. And if you're not aware of when you're practicing, if you wanted to know about server name, you can hit on the drop down. In the here you can find there is a browse. But in real time, someone has to say about your server name. Okay, so if you don't have a server name, you cannot do anything. So definitely, if someone is asking to bring the data from so and so place, then definitely we have to get the server name or they have to provide all the credential details. So while you are practicing, if you're not aware of your system name, you can also go for my system properties and you can get a server name, or you can use this browse for me In the browse for me, you can see there is a database engine and the name of the server you can find for your system once you have installed SQL Server in your machine. Let's hit OK. Now server name is selected. Authentication. We have taken mixed authentication if you remember. And if you have a Windows authentication, for if your system is configured with Windows authentication, you can keep Windows authentication. Or if it is not configured, choose SQL Server authentication and login name is SA. And password, I ask you to keep your password and remember that password. You have to enter that particular password. Then you can go for connect. So my system is configured with Windows authentication. So I'm just keeping Windows authentication. And make sure this encryption should be an optional while you're working with SQL Server. Let me hit on connect. Everyone is going to come across this SQL Server Management Studio if you're working with the Power BI or if you're working with the data. So that much important it is. Let's expand this databases and you can see there are databases are there how we brought the databases, sample databases which are recommended by Microsoft that we have seen in the last session how we can restore them. Just go through that and do in the similar way we can get the sample databases. And I'm going to create a database here, a new database. I'm just going to create it. If you want to create a new database for practicing, you can also create it. For some reason, I wanted to take you through few things, so I'm just going to create a new database. To create a new database, just right click on it. And creating this kind of activities is just for practicing. In real time, you never come across to create a database because we are not a database developers. You're not going to be part of it. If you're having a huge experience and if you're aware of how you can create it, then you can do it. So you're going to get a very less chances to create a databases. So only for practicing, you're going to do it here. If you're doing a practice means if you get a chance to create a database in reality, then you can also create in the similar way. Just right click on the database and hit on new database. I'm just going to give here sales or DB. You can give any name. I'm just giving this name. You can see here how it is getting created, primary file and log file. Forget about all these things because we are not a database developers. Just keep in mind. We are a BI developers or we are going to be data engineers. We are not going to be database developers. Let's hit on OK. A database is created, sales underscore DB. And I'm just going to say hit a new query. If you want to communicate with this, then we need to go inside. We need to write a SQL code because database can understand only SQL. Database can understand only SQL. Database can understand only SQL. So because of that reason, we have to write a SQL code. So in order to write a SQL code, then we need to take a query window here. Just select the database sales underscore DB and hit on new query. Now this is the place where we are going to write a SQL code. And before using that in a Power BI or before using it and use it for anywhere, we have to test is SQL code is working or not. So for that reason, we required a SQL Server Management Studio. Now we just observe here, I just expanding this sales underscore DB. And I have a various options here. We just concentrate only on the tables. And we just expand these tables. Now I don't have anything here. I don't have any tables. I have a system tables, but I'm not interested to go with the system tables. I wanted to talk about our own tables. But if we see about this AdventureWorks DW 2022, which is restored in the last session, and you can see the tables here if you expand that. So I have a various tables here, you can see. Okay, so I have a multiple databases here, and this database is an empty database as we're not having any table here. So I'm just going to bring one SQL file. So how we are going to communicate with the SQL server? How we are going to communicate with the SQL server? There are multiple activities or multiple roles are going to be there in the database. As a BI developer or as a data engineers, our role will be very limited. Especially BI developers are not going to create any tables. But data engineers are going to create a tables. Data engineers are going to create a tables surely without doubt. But I'm sure if you're working as a BI analyst or data analyst, you may not get a chance to create a table. But we should know about how we can create a table because we don't know. We are going to stay with only BI. Definitely we are going to grow in the career. So if you want to migrate from one service to another service, or if you wanted to extend your skill set, then definitely SQL plays key role. SQL plays key role. So if you're strong enough in the SQL, you can work with the data. When you're going to deal with the data, 100% is we should know about the SQL. Even if you go with the BA, I strongly recommend get updated with the SQL, even if you're going to work as a data analyst. So for that reason, I'm just going to cover whatever is required for our survival. I'm just going to cover that. And these sessions are not purely SQL sessions. As a data engineer or as a BI developer, whatever is required that I'm just going to take you through. Just concentrate on that particular areas only. We don't need too many things. Now, I have an empty database here. I wanted to create a table. I wanted to create a table. So table means an object. I wanted to create a object. So database is nothing but collection of objects is known as a database. Collection of objects is known as a database. So table is an object. A view is an object. Stored procedure is an object. Okay, and everything is going to be object in the SQL server or in the database. There are many objects are there. I'm just specifying few of them, and these are all very important for us. So if at all, if you get a chance to create any object, if you get a chance to create an object in the database, how you are going to create an object, how you are going to create a table, how you are going to create a view, or if you wanted to create a stored procedure, then how you are going to create a stored procedure. So what are the pros and cons that I'm going to take you through? And keep in mind, everyone is not going to create a table. If everyone is going to create a table, there will be too many tables in the database and maintenance will be very difficult. So there will be control. When they're creating a table, there should be purpose. When they are creating a table, there should be purpose. So because of that reason, creation of the table is not going to be done by everyone in the team. There will be specific persons to create it, and they are going to see the requirement. So if at all, if we wanted to create a table, then we have to use the language called data definition language. So SQL first, what is that SQL? SQL means structured query language. Structured query language. The structured query language is having one of the type is DDL. The DDL is data definition language. You're defining the data structure. You're defining the data. So in order to define it, we need to use the define data definition language. The data definition language is type of SQL. It's one of the type in the SQL. So why we are going to use this? That is used to define the structure of the database. The structure of the database can be defined by using the DDL and create and modify database objects. If you want to modify or if you want to create the objects such as tables, views, indexes, constraints, all these things we can call them as a objects. So by using this DDL, you can create all these things and you can modify, you can create a structure of the database. The main purpose of the DDL is to specify the schema or structure of the database that describes how the data is organized and stored in the database. So how you wanted to store the data, how you wanted to organize the schema, all those things are going to be decided by DDL. So this DDL is further divided into 4 different types. One is create. I told you here, create. If you want to modify, we can also modify that. So that is alter. The name itself saying that we can modify it. Drop, truncate. We are going to talk about each and every individual. So if at all, if we get a chance to create an object, we should be ready to create an object. The syntax I'm just giving here. If I wanted to create a table, then create is there. That is what we are talking about it. Create. So what do you want to create? By using the create, I can create an index. By using the create, I can create a view. By using the create, I can create a table. By using the create, I can create a stored procedure. So what you wanted to create, you have to specify. So here I'm just specifying what I wanted to create it. I wanted to create a table. If you're creating a table, then just specify table. If you're creating an index, then just specify index. And then table name. What is the name of the table? What is the name of the table that you have to specify? So create table name. So bracket opens and bracket closes here. So within that braces, you have to specify the structure of the table. So structure of the table means when you take any table, you will be having a table name and you may have a column names. So we have to give the name of the table. Just imagine the name of the table is customer. I have a customer ID. I have a customer name and I have a customer sales. So what you wanted to store in the ID? That ID I wanted to keep 1, 2, 3, 4. Something like that. Then that is a number. I wanted to store in this particular column, under this column, I wanted to store a number. You can feel that your ID numbers. roll numbers. Just imagine. And then I have a name. That name I wanted to store in the form of characters. In the form of characters, right? Everyone names are going to have a characters. So I mean to say here text. A text data I wanted to store it here. And sales, when you pay amount, then definitely you are going to have a numbers. I wanted to say here currency. Currency or number both are same. There is a slight difference only. And if you order in some particular point of time, then date also will come into the picture. So you have to specify what is the name of the table. Create table. The table name is what? Customer is the name of the table. Customer is the name of the table. Then I'm having a name of the column. Column 1 I'm giving. What is the column 1? ID is the column 1. Column 2 is what? Name. Name is the column 2. And sales is the column 3. So as many columns as you required, you can keep in the table. You may have a 10 columns, you may have a 20 columns, you may have a 200 columns, even more also. It's all depends on the business requirement. The database architects are going to decide how they wanted to build a house, how they wanted to build the database. It's not going to be part of you. Okay, as you are not going to create a database or as you are not going to create a table, you can just ignore. But definitely this is going to be helpful, guys, especially for data engineers, is very, very important for this particular point. So we cannot say I don't create a table. We cannot say that. If you are going to work as a data engineers, this is very, very important. As a BI developer, yes, you can force them. I didn't come across to create a table or I didn't create a table. But creating a table is not a rocket science. It's very easy. Now, once we have the column names, then we need to specify the data types. So data type is going to decide what data you're going to store in the column. What type of data you're going to store. We have a numbers in the market, right? We have a numbers, we have a text, we have a date. These three just keep in mind. That's more enough at this point of time. So I wanted to store the numbers. If I wanted to store the numbers, in the SQL server, we have a database called into data type. Integer or into data type. So into data type is going to represent a number. Into data type is going to represent a number. So because of that reason, I've given here, I just wanted to create a table. Create table, table name is the customer. And customer ID, I have taken the name of the column. And the data type, if you observe here, I'm having int. I'm having int. So why? Because this is I wanted to keep the numbers here. My requirement is demanding to keep the numbers. Then I can go for int. And then I have a name. Okay, so here I'm just taking first name and last name. Just keep in mind, just for understanding, because of the space, I'm taking only one column here, name. So when you see this, you can feel that we are going to have a text data here. That means varchar. So text data will be represented with the varchar data type. Characters will be represented with the varchar data type. So varchar is used to represent a text data, a characters from A to Z, special characters. The text will be enclosed in a double quote. Text will be enclosed in a double quote when you have a text. So because of that reason, here I'm taking customer first name is a text data type, that is varchar, and last name is a varchar data type, and location is also is going to be text. So I have taken varchar data type for all these three columns. So constant is an optional. You can ignore this, but there is a when you have a integer data type, we don't need to specify how many bytes we required. We don't need to specify that because that is fixed. So that kind of questions you are not going to face only for freshers. If they are going, if they're trying to get a job as a fresher, there is a chances to ask, but not for Power BI. If it is a Java or .NET, there is a chances to ask. So we don't need to know about the size of the database, so the size of the data type, because they are very, very basic and very, very old questions. So later, so many changes happened. They were very, very basic. So no one will touch that. So varchar, and then we have to specify when you go for varchar, we have to specify explicitly what is the size of the data that you wanted to keep in the column. What is the size of the data that you wanted to keep in the column? We have to specify when you use a varchar data type. And I have a sales here. The sales is going to be number. This is a number, but this is a currency. So as it is it is referring to the number, but still this number should be represented with the currency. The currency will be handled with the help of money. So in SQL Server, we have a data type called money. You can use the data type called money to represent the currencies. Wherever you feel that is a currency, you can keep this data type. So this is the basic information that is required in order to create any object in the SQL Server database. I hope everyone is clear on it. Any doubt, guys? Okay, then. I hope we are clear on it. Now let's see. So how do you know in which database we are? You can just look here. It will say what database it is. Or in this particular area, you can have all the details. This part is the name of the server. And this part is the account, which account is connected. And this part is going to say a database. All the details you can see in the bottom of the window. Now I wanted to create this table. I wanted to create a customer table. To create a customer table, you can see here, I'm just selecting this entire statement and we need to execute it. Give me a minute. So to execute this one, whatever the statement you are going to execute, select that statement and then go for execute. If you unselect and execute all the statements in the particular window, is going to execute. So that's very dangerous. So you have to be very careful when you execute what you are executing. Just select that and hit on this button here. You can say execute or you can use the F5. Hit on execute it. Now you're going to see here commands completed successfully. This command is completed successfully. And if you wanted to see that table is available or not in this particular database, select this tables folder and hit on refresh. And expand these tables and see customer here. Expand this customers and you can see here columns, keys, constraints and so on. Just expand the columns. You can see all the list of columns here. Whatever the columns that we have specified while creating a table, all the columns are available here. This is how we are going to create a table. As many columns as you want, you can specify it. Now I wanted to alter the table. I wanted to add a new column because no one will fix the number of columns at one shot. There may be chances. There may be chances or more chances to modify the existed table, or there may be chances to modify existed object. So if you wanted to modify that, how you are going to modify? In order to modify any object, we are going to use alter. We are going to use alter. So alter is used to modify a database object. Alter is used to modify a database object. There are three different options are there in terms of alter. One is add. If I wanted to add a new column to the existed table, you can use add. So adding a new column to the table is an alteration. You're trying to alter it. So that's what I'm giving here, add. It is used to add a new column or new columns. You can add a single column or you can add a multiple columns. So that is also is one of the alteration. And there is a one more option, that is alter column. If you want to modify structure of the column, I wanted to change the data type of varchar to nvarchar, or from one data type to another data type. Or if I wanted to change the size of the column, then that we can do it with the help of alter column. So alter column is used to modify existed column structure. It is used to modify existed column structure. That is also coming under alteration. And other one is drop column. So drop column is used to remove the column from the table. If you are interested, or if your business requirement demands to remove any of the column from the table, yes, you can use the drop column to remove it. So drop is used to remove the column from the existed table. So when you use the drop column, or when you go for alter, make sure there is a table. If there is no table, there is no point of talking about alter. So all these three things are going to be chances when you're going to work with the objects. And here I have given a clear statement here what I'm trying to do. Write a SQL statement to add a new column to the customer table. The column name is customer underscore gender. Column name is customer underscore gender. There are 5 columns are there at this point of time. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So when the moment to execute this particular statement, we are going to get a new column called customer underscore gender. I wanted to add a gender column to the customer table. So alter table name is customer. You have to alter. What do you want to alter? I wanted to alter the table. If you want to alter a stored procedure, then you have to say alter procedure. Or if you wanted to alter index, then you have to say alter index. If it is a view, then you are going to say alter view. So you have to specify what you want to alter, what item you wanted to alter. Alter table and then table name. Then we have a table name. So this table name is expecting to add a new column, that is customer underscore gender. So to add a new column, we are going to use add. This add is there under what? It is there under the alter. Alter, add. Alter table name, and then add. What you wanted to add is the column name. The column name is customer underscore gender. When you have a column name, you have to specify the data type also. You have to specify the data type also. So varchar 10. I'm just specifying the varchar 10 here. Just try to execute this statement alone and you can see. Just select it and execute. Command is completed successfully. Now just select these columns and refresh it. You can find customer underscore gender. So this is one of the statement to alter it. Then I'm just taking write a SQL statement to change the size of the customer underscore first name to 30 characters. How many characters are there now? Customer underscore first name is having 50 characters. So I wanted to make this 30. I wanted to make this 30. So if you want to make the 30, then you are trying to modify column structure. If you want to modify column structure, then you have to use alter column. You have to use alter column. Alter table. Table name is customer. So what do you want to alter? I wanted to alter column structure. So if you want to alter column structure, then take a alter column. You have to take a alter column. And then the name of the existed column. So which column you wanted to alter? You have to specify the existed column. Our requirement is to change for column underscore first name, and you're just going to take that. Data type is same varchar I wanted to take, but only thing is the size I wanted to reduce. Now the size is going to be 30. If I execute this statement, just select this statement and hit on execute. Just refresh these columns. Now you can see customer underscore first name. The size you can have a 30 here. Previously it was 50. Now it is 30. How we can modify a column structure is by using the alter column. There is I'm taking one more example in order to change that. You can see a data type also I wanted to change for customer location. The data type for customer location is varchar. I wanted to keep n varchar. So if you want to change the data type from one type to another type, we can use the same alter column. Write a SQL statement to change the data type. For which column you are going to change the data type is, I'm going to change the data type for customer underscore location. What is the target data type? The target data type is n varchar 50. You can store the difference between char and n varchar is varchar just going to store the characters, whereas n varchar is going to store other than English characters also. Anything that you can store inside this. So I'm just going to alter the table, customer, alter column. The name of the column is I wanted to change for customer underscore location. And the data type name is nvarchar 50. Now it is having varchar 50 here. Once I execute this statement, you're going to say nvarchar 50. Just select this line and hit execute. Now if you just refresh these columns and you can see previously it was varchar, now it is nvarchar. So alter column is used to modify the existed column structure. The next is drop column. So drop column is used to remove column from the table. If you want to remove any column from the table, you can use drop column. You can use a drop column. Alter table. Table name is customer. And the customer underscore first name. The customer underscore first name is 50. Now it is having varchar 50 here. Once I execute this statement, you're going to say nvarchar 50. Just select this line and hit execute. Now if you just refresh these columns and you can see previously it was varchar, now it is nvarchar. So alter table. Table name is customer. And then what you wanted to do is, I wanted to drop the column. So when you use the drop column, then we have to specify what is the name of the column. The name of the column here is customer underscore location. I wanted to drop it. So once I execute this particular statement, you cannot see this column here. Sorry, not this one. Yeah, this one only. Customer underscore location is going to be taken away from the table. Just select this statement and hit on execute. Now, if you refresh this, you can see there is no column with customer underscore location. There is no column with customer underscore location. So that is how we are going to have it. So we have seen create and alter. And then the third one we are having is a drop. Drop column and drop is different. Drop column is used to remove the existed column. Drop only single drop. That is used to remove the table. You can see here. It is used to remove the database objects. That objects may be, if you want to drop the table, you can use for the table, you can use for the view, you can use for the index, and you can use for the store procedure. So drop and type of object and the object name. Here I wanted to drop a table. So you have to specify drop table name. So I wanted to drop the customer table. Here I have written, write a SQL statement to drop a customer table. So when you drop it, the table itself is going off. Just observe here, I'm going to execute this statement. And if I refresh these tables, you cannot find the customer table now. The table is dropped. So again, I'm just going to create this table. The same steps I just done. Now, if I wanted to see the data in this table, because we have seen till now how we can add a new column if the business requirement demands, or we have seen how we can modify the column structure if the business requirement demands. But if you want to see the data in the table, if you want to see the data in the table, how you're going to see. So to read the data from the table, we are going to use this statement. This is very, very, very important for us. This is very, very important. 80% of the time we are going to work with only this statement. Select statement. So select what is meaning, what does it mean? We'll see that later. At this point of time, if you want to read the data from the table, we're going to use select star from table name, and do not execute in the production directly like select star from table name. That's very dangerous. I'll tell you later. At this point of time, I'm just saying select star from table name is used to read the data from the table. Just execute this statement. When I execute it, I'm not having any records here. I don't have the records here. I wanted to load the data into this table. I wanted to feed the data into the table. Basically, loading the data into the table is not our activity as a BI developer. As a data engineer, you are going to do it, I'm sure. But as a BI developer, it's not required for us. Okay, so the reason why I'm saying both BI and data engineering is, if you're going for even data engineer, you can differentiate where we have to concentrate. But as a BI developer, we don't need to know about how we can feed the data into these tables. We need to know how we can reading only. This part only is important for BI. Rest of all the parts are related to data engineers, more for data engineers. Now I wanted to load the data into the table. I wanted to feed the data into the table. So if you want to feed the data into the table, then definitely we have to use another language. To create a tables, we are going to use the data definition language. To feed the data into the table, we are going to use a data manipulation language. Data manipulation language, DML. Data manipulation language is used to feed the data into the table and is used to modify the data in the table and is also used to remove the data from the table. So all these operations, the DML operation, DML related operations, I'm going to take you through in the next session. So I'm just showing here, just do practice, guys. So how we can create a table, we just try for that. Okay. Any questions before stopping? So I hope everyone is able to access the recording through the website. And if you're not able to access, please let me know. All the sessions were uploaded already, up to date. And I have added some material I prepared in a different way. You just try to do that. I have added a sample data for that also. Apart from the classroom, you can just try in that approach. I have prepared based on the use case. Just try to do in that way for practicing. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay then. Thank you and we'll see you on tomorrow.